So here's the thing, man. No matter what the situation is, whether he's fighting Pacquiao or, in this case, the other two options are Thurman and Porter, whether he's fighting Pacquiao, Sean Porter, or Keith Thurman, I think we all can agree that Bud Crawford is in a pretty good situation right now. This is a pretty good situation for Bud Crawford because it sounds like he has a plan A, B, and C, goddamn. Bud Crawford sounds like he got a plan A, B, and C, and they all work out very favorably right now. You know what I'm saying? So one thing I find funny, man, one thing I find extremely funny is with this news coming out, a lot of the other channels and shit like that out there, man, you hear them still trying to trash the options one way or another. You know what I'm saying? You know, they still try to like trash the options. It's like, yo, man, these are really good options. This puts Bud in a very good situation. You know what I'm saying? You know, because, you know, you got those people out there who always go, well, Bud ain't fighting nobody. Bud ain't fighting nobody. But it's like, okay, Bud ain't fighting nobody. And now he has a big fight coming up with either Sean Porter, Pacquiao, or Keith Thurman. But you still somehow have a problem. Like, why y'all so pressed? Why are some of y'all boxing fans so pressed? Y'all have a lot of these dudes have officially just become Bud haters at this particular point in time. Because you tell the man he ain't got no resume, and then the man turn around and secure a big fight, whether that be with Pacquiao, Porter, or Thurman. He secures a big fight. But a lot of y'all still got a problem. What the fuck going on? To me, in my eyes right now, at this particular point, if Bud Crawford beats Manny Pacquiao, he becomes the man at the division. He really does. He becomes the guy at the division. That old man beat Keith Thurman. Nobody was calling him old when he beat Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't want to fall into the old man thing. I feel like that's a way for people to kind of take credit away from Bud if he gets the win. I don't even want to hear the old man talk because really nobody has dethroned Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is the man at the division. It's Manny Pacquiao. Then you could probably say Earl. Then Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? As far as the guys at welterweight. So if Terence Crawford beats Manny Pacquiao, which we all think that he's gonna do, Terence Crawford becomes the man at the division. Pacquiao, if he gets the Pacquiao fight, of course, that would be the most ideal for Bud Crawford. That would be the most ideal situation for Bud Crawford. But if he gets Thurman, that would be amazing too. That would be great for Bud Crawford. It'd be great. It wouldn't be as great as Pacquiao, but it would be great. Because Thurman, other than Pacquiao and Spence, is the most credible guy at welterweight that Terence Crawford could fight. The most credible guy at welterweight. You know what I'm saying? So a win over Thurman would give Terence Crawford the best resume at welterweight. It would give him the best resume at welterweight. Thurman got wins over both the guys, both Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, both Earl Spence's biggest wins. He beat them when they were more in their primes. He beat an undefeated Danny Garcia. It would simply be a better win altogether. You know what I'm saying? So a Keith Thurman win would be that thing that separates, that win that separates resumes at welterweight. Because if we talk about overall resumes, Crawford has the better overall resume, but the resumes at welterweight, Earl does have the better resume at welterweight, but not by much. Not by much. The only thing that separates Earl's resume from Terence's resume, in my opinion, is Sean Porter. That's the only thing that separates their resumes. But back to Keith Thurman. Another thing about the Keith Thurman fight, if that indeed is the fight, a Keith Thurman fight does really good numbers. A Keith Thurman fight looks really good on paper. Really good on paper, because Keith Thurman in his last fight did 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So it wouldn't be a stretch to believe that Terence Crawford and a Keith Thurman fight would do 250 pay-per-view buys, considering Keith Thurman and Pacquiao did 500. Keith Thurman and Crawford should be able to do at least half of that. It's a very good situation at the end of the day for Terence Crawford, because he gets a credible win against a credible opponent. He makes good money on top of that. The other option is, of course, Sean Porter. We've been hearing about the Sean Porter fight for a while, man, for Bud. We've been hearing about the Sean Porter fight for a while. And the Sean Porter fight is a good fight. Just like the Keith Thurman fight, the Earl Spence fight does really, the Sean Porter fight does, it offers Terence Crawford the same kind of opportunities that a Earl Spence fight, that a Keith Thurman fight would offer, along with a Manny Pacquiao fight. It gives them the credibility, it gives them the money, it gives them the accolades and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a really good situation. And just like I said earlier, man, with Sean Porter, to me, the only fighter that Earl has, the only credible fighter, or the only plus that Earl has on his resume over Terence Crawford is Sean Porter. So if Terence Crawford was to fight Sean Porter, beat Sean Porter, or even stop Sean Porter, you know what I'm saying? This number stuff that a lot of people like to say, like the numbers games that people like to play, we're really gonna see like what that looks like really soon. Because Spence is gonna get in the ring with Ugas, and I feel like they're gonna make that pay-per-view. If they don't make that pay-per-view, it'll be very interesting, because that'll be kind of like admitting defeat. But if they make that pay-per-view, it's gonna be very interesting to see what kind of numbers a Ugas Spence pay-per-view does. And it's gonna be also equally interesting to see what kind of numbers a Pacquiao Crawford pay-per-view does. Because the thing about it is, Crawford's pay-per-views, a lot of them flop because of the fact that who his opponents are. If you look at Amir Khan isn't a household name in the United States. Amir Khan is an overseas fighter. He's a guy that's popular overseas. So for him to come over here and do pay-per-view numbers, you know what I'm saying? It's not very likely. So an Amir Khan fight isn't going to do that well. Same thing with Kell Brook. Kell Brook is an overseas fighter. Anybody who follows the sport, you're going to know who Amir Khan, you're going to know who Kell Brook is. But they're definitely not going to be people that casuals are going to know. You know what I'm saying? And based on how the fight is perceived by the boxing public, it doesn't even come off like a very competitive fight. So those pay-per-views wouldn't do well. You know what I'm saying? But for Terence Crawford to get in the ring versus a Manny Pacquiao or Sean Porter or Keith Thurman, I feel like the numbers are going to look very comparable to what Earl's numbers would look like against those opponents. And for Earl, in his case, it should be very interesting, because for Earl's going to fight Ugas, So what are his numbers going to look like fighting Ugas? What are Earl's numbers going to look like fighting Ugas is what I want to know. Because if those numbers flop, then Earl's not the big star that a lot of these dudes are making it seem to be. First of all, I already know that for a fact that he's not the big star that a lot of dudes make him seem to be. I already know that for a fact. But even the status that he's given at this point, because a lot of the people who support Earl heavily, they like to, oh man, he did 350 pay-per-view buys. He did this with Danny. He did this with Mikey. Well, if he goes in here with Ugas and he does 150, if he does under 200,000, I think that deflates a lot of y'all argument, a lot of the Earl people's arguments for him being this big star that a lot of people make him seem to be. A lot of that argument is going to be deflated. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, Earl is overhyped, man. A lot of his fans are fanboys, you know what I'm saying? So they really overhype his accomplishments. At the end of the day, Earl is a guy who's really kind of just getting his career started, in my opinion. He's really kind of a guy that's just kind of getting off his feet. You know, he unified a division, but this is his first division that he's won a belt in. You know, he's going to get a belt from Ugas, but really Ugas is just a title holder. He has another guy in the division in Terence Crawford that he's, man, to be real, been avoiding up until now. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, when Earl get this third, Earl put out a little tweet talking about, oh, when I get this third belt, we're going to see who's holding up what. But really, that kind of indicates that you've been holding things up until now. You know what I'm saying? Really, what you're saying is, I've been holding things up until now, but once I get this third belt, I might actually try to make the fight happen. But really, I've been holding things up. That's really what that means. You know what I'm saying? When you interpret that tweet the way how it's supposed to be interpreted. You feel me? But yeah, man. It's just gonna be an interesting time because the Earl people are gonna try to discredit everything that Terence Crawford does at this point. Terence Crawford got a big fight. It's gonna be on pay-per-view. Oh well, you just hear the haters just kind of you hear their voices in the background just hating hard as fuck on Bud right now. Oh well, you know, what if he lose to Pacquiao? Now y'all putting out what if he lose to Pacquiao? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, whoever Bud fights in this next fight, whoever he fights, whether it be Sean, whether it be Keith, whether it be Pacquiao, all of those fights make him the guy with the stronger resume at welterweight. All of those fights gives Bud the stronger resume at welterweight, period. All of them.